This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Today's podcast is brought to you by Leverage, a new fully featured decentralized futures exchange without compromise. Leverage is a DEX, so you can trade with your keys and sign orders with just one click. And Leverage is fast. Yes, indeed. Leverage is powered by Gluon, a layer 2 solution with the scalability and speed of a centralized exchange and the super low fees of a DEX. That's right, Leverage combines the best features of CeFi and DeFi so you can trade crypto spot and derivatives with up to 100x leverage while maintaining control of your assets at all times. And this month, Leverage are running a trading competition with a $25,000 grand prize that goes to the account that gets the largest dollar value increase over that period. And there's lots of smaller prizes too. Want in? Of course you do. If that's you, go to leverage.io for all of the details. And of course, Leverage is spelled Leverj.io and trade the future of crypto today. And now it's on with the show.
Yeah, boy!
My guest today is Robbie Ferguson. Robbie is the co-founder of Immutable, and Immutable perhaps best known for launching the Gods Unchained blockchain game, still one of the more successful blockchain games out in the wild, and Robbie is now focused on Immutable X, which is a new decentralized gas-free layer 2 protocol for Ethereum for NFTs, and there's a whole heap of exciting stuff in the pipeline. Welcome to the show, Robbie.
Thanks so much. It's very good to be here.
Hey, very good to have you here, my man. All right, Robbie, why don't you let's take it from the top, take it from the beginning, take it right back to the beginning. I'd love to hear just a little bit about your background, where you're from, what's your background, how did you first get into crypto, all that.
Yeah, well, you've got a real Aussie New Zealand Down Under podcast here. So I'm a Sydney-sider by birth, and I might give the origin story of how I got into the startup space first and then the crypto space.
Love it.
So I started getting involved in startups, I think, from a relatively young age. So while I was still in high school, we were with my brother, who's kind of my partner in crime, James, at Immutable. We were doing things like we had Australia's largest hoverboard startup at one point in time, which was shut down by the US government because it was of the issues with batteries, which weren't our batteries, but that's okay.
Oh, that's nuts.
we made a Shopify competitor, which automatically A/B tested your, stores in order to optimize your sales. We had a League of Legends betting platform where you could bet on your own games. So we were really, really obsessed with just creating things. And none of those succeeded, by the way. They were all just very good learning experiences. But the other key thing was that we were very into gaming. And I actually remember one of my favorite stories is my brother used to have this really high-level RuneScape account. And we think it was like a level 103, and he had full dragon armor. And one day I decided to go in his account, as I sometimes did. And I took all his dragon armor into the wilderness, and I was PK'd, player killed, and lost it all. So he was very upset. But before he found out, I decided to try and replenish the armor by buying gold on the internet, which cost me $20 with my mom's credit card. And 2 days later, the account was banned. And now Jagex sells gold to players. So they're supporting this as a first-party direct option. So from a young age, I was very into the economies of video games. And I think I also saw how the incentives here weren't aligned. Players weren't aligned incentives with the game's creators. And there was a better way than just having this gray market, which was very opaque and didn't offer players a lot of transparency or a lot of choice. And then we first got involved in the crypto space in 2014 with Bitcoin, but we didn't really get involved beyond trading until Ethereum came out. And I always remember the magic moment for me for Ethereum beyond just reading the white paper and being like, this is nuts. Like, this is absolutely crazy. And the person who got me in, one of my close friends and someone who joined the company very early on, was a heavy participator in the Ethereum private sale. And they have their own tragic story where I think they sold a vast number of ETH at 30 cents or something, or 50 cents, making a decent profit. And we later realized that the person on the other side of the trade was probably Mike Novogratz, who executed a very large order at the same time. So that was a funny story. But we were getting involved in Ethereum, and the magic moment for me was using a smart contract that was just like, it was either Etherall or it was heads or tails, where you would flip a coin on the blockchain, like it would generate around a number. And if it was above a certain thing, then you doubled your money. And if it was below it, then you lost your money. And I had it clip. And to me, this was fundamentally the proof of concept of why this would change the world, which was this was the first time you could do that with 3 lines of code and make redundant hundreds of billions of dollars of government oversight and regulation. Because for the first time ever, you could guarantee that you're going to get paid out, and you can see that transparently in the blockchain, that the probability is fair and guaranteed by the blockchain. And this technology, this primitive, can be applied to everything. So that was really fascinating. And then when NFTs came out in 2017, first with CryptoPunks, which I don't even think were real ERC-721s, they had to be wrapped in some way. But we said immediately, this is massive. And the reason we said that was, it was a very simple extension of the fundamental value proposition of blockchain, which is basically, with blockchain, you have hard cap money supply, you have censorship resistance, and you have self-custody. For the first time ever, like you enable self-sovereign money. But the problem was it was only fungible assets. It's Ethereum, it's Bitcoin, it's all the tokens that launch on Ethereum. And a vast amount of the world's value is not captured through fungible assets. And so we said, this is going to be massive. It's going to take over everything. But the first thing it's going to take over is very clearly video gaming items, because there's a massive centralized demand analog. $100 billion is spent on gaming items every year by gaming natives, and they do not receive a cent of real value. It's like having an economy where everyone rents houses instead of being able to own them. So we thought that was going to be able to be massive, and that's why we built Etherbots, which was the first competitive multiplayer game on the blockchain. Really, really proud of that. And we learned a lot, because right now, running a game on Etherbots costs you, I think, $6,000 in gas fees, a single turn. So literally all of the game logic and all of the Berg trees are encoded into smart contracts. So it was a crazy time, and we learned a ton from that. And obviously, the thought in this space has matured a lot to layer one being a settlement layer and not really processing logic on chain. But that was our first foray and how we essentially got into crypto and formed the company.
Oh, look, so much good stuff in there. Robbie,
sorry, I rambled.
I don't know where to start, and I love it. Sometimes some of my favorite guests are people, there are good guests that you can just kind of wind up, and then they go and they go and they go, and they just drop wisdom, strength, and street knowledge. And I think you've just done that. So I love the stuff about the hoverboards and the early the ETH crowd sale stuff, and yeah, of course, didn't Vitalik had a similar story? Wasn't one of the reasons that he started Ethereum was a similar gaming story? Is that right?
Yeah, look, I don't know if that was a genuine motivator or a funny, analogy he tells, but yeah, he has the story about the siphon life spell in World of Warcraft having its damage component removed.
Exactly. All right. Well, look. Let's move to Immutable. So I know you founded Immutable. I think back in 2018. You raised a decent amount of capital in 2019. But so yeah, love to hear the origin story to Immutable and what is the thesis and yeah, what are you guys building? What are you doing?
Yeah. So Immutable's mission statement is to make digital worlds real. And why has that led us down this path? So initially, when we saw NFTs, we always wanted to make a way to scalably allow people to create and trade NFTs for everything. But back in early 2018, no one cared about NFTs. There were no exciting use cases. And so we had to build one. And so we built Gods Unchained, which is the first AAA card game on the blockchain. And the goal very much there is to take on, the biggest trading card games in the world by proving that digital ownership in a video game makes sense for the creators of that video game commercially and makes sense for players of that video game in terms of fun. And if you can do those two simple things, you can prove that this is a better business model and you can start getting people to come along on the ride. And I think we very quickly discovered two things. One was that game development is quite hard. And so we hired the world expert in order to build that, who was Chris Clay, who led Magic the Gathering Arena. And the second thing was that scalability was hindering everything because we couldn't trade or create NFTs for people playing the game. We couldn't do the metagame systems we wanted. I mean, people talk about this idea of play to earn. The first thing I'd say is that's very cool, but you still want people to have a reason to play the game anyway. You just want to turn the items they're earning into assets. So I kind of like play and earn. And it obviously makes better sense for the people playing the games. But we couldn't do that because to give a consumer a single NFT, you're paying $30, $40, $50 in gas fees. And so we very quickly calculated that if we even hit, a 10th the size of Hearthstone, which is our ultimate aim for the game, we would be consuming something like a third of Ethereum's network at some baseline calculations of peer-to-peer trade. So that wasn't going to make sense. And so we said, well, we need to create this scaling solution now. And we want to create it for everyone. And we don't want to compromise on two things. First, we don't want to compromise on security and true ownership. So basically decentralization. Now, why don't we want to compromise on that? The reason is there is absolutely no point in creating another tradable marketplace, which is a database. There is no point making another Steam marketplace or op skins for CSGO. Like, they've existed before and they don't work for a few reasons. One is there is no hard cap supply on the scarcity of these assets. And two is that you may as well go and use a database. Users can't have any trust over the guarantees of those assets. They can't create a multi-billion-dollar economy because the creator can do a rug pull, someone can mint more assets, or all of those characteristics. So it was very, very important to us that it was truly decentralized. And the second thing was, it was very, very important that it was where everyone wanted to be. And that for us ruled out building our own blockchain, which probably would have been a much easier solution than the solution we went down. And the solution, obviously, other people went down, like CryptoKitties, which moved to become Ethereum competitor when they started Flow, or we see the same with Wax and, even with Tron and with EOS attempted to become Ethereum competitors too. And quite frankly, every attempted Ethereum competitor so far has failed. And I'm sure there'll be successes, and I'm not against the multi-chain future. However, I really think that right now, the most important thing for NFTs is being the place where all the developers are, where all the funds and revenue are, because that's where, when a mainstream gaming company says, we're going to move into the space, they're not going to use something where players aren't, where consumers aren't. They're going to use the default, most dominant solution. And so we needed to create a solution which scales that rather than trying to compete on two levels. So that was very important. And that kind of ties back into, in order to make digital worlds real, and I say this and it sounds lofty, but it is true. The most important thing in making digital worlds real is A, it has to be accessible. So scalability is important, but B, it has to be truly decentralized. Like, we're literally talking about, the example I always give when I'm first explaining the blockchain to someone is not, it's a decentralized ledger. I say, if I'm holding an object, let's say a cup, I own that cup, I have possession of it. And if I give that cup to you, you own it, you have possession of it, and I don't. And what's the thing guaranteeing the fact that I don't? The thing guaranteeing it is quite literally the laws of physics, saying that the atoms have now moved from here to there, and that object is in your physical custody. It means that I can't have it. But when I have a bank account and I have $5 in that bank account, true, it says that I own it. But if I transfer it to you, even though it might show up in your account, there is nothing that is guaranteeing at the level of the laws of physics that I no longer own that asset. That's what Bitcoin invented. And that's what NFTs on a particular solution have done for all unique objects. And it's very, very important that as we decide where the future of these digital assets are going to live, which blockchain they're going to live on, which consensus mechanism, that is functionally equivalent to saying which law of physics, which universe of physics are we going to entrust physical possessions to? And so I think it's very important that that law of physics is one which isn't owned by venture capitalists, which isn't owned by people trying to create a centralized alternative that skimps out on self-custody or decentralization in order to achieve scalability. I think it's very, very important that that set of physics is completely open, and is something like Ethereum.
Yeah, really interesting thoughts then, Robbie. And I'd look, I don't want to sidetrack you, but I'd love to just get your opinion then on what you think of the sudden rise of the Binance Smart Chain, and are there any lessons in there or wider implications for the Ethereum community?
So it's a very interesting question, and I have two hats that I might put on.
But don't hold back, mate. Don't hold back.
The first one is competition is great. Competition is really, really good. Competition drives innovation. I want people to be competing over the different things which matter to users in terms of an experience, in terms of how much money can someone make if they come on board and they're, a new game developer trying to monetize, or if someone's making a new DeFi app. However, and this is the same thing as capitalism, you've got to make sure that negative externalities are priced in, that the information in the market is perfect in order for the right outcomes to eventuate. And there's a lot of subsidizing of network effects in a way that can be quite deleterious. And so I think it's quite remarkable and shows even the fact that Ethereum, which doesn't have a massive company behind it driving it, it's generally open source efforts and people incentivized by the ether they own, rather than some massive corporation like Ripple trying to generate this. The fact that that has kept alive and kept growing over the years, I think is a testament to the fact that it's very, very difficult to buy a developer community. These people are typically not motivated by grants, but by the promise of the success of what they build or the philosophical alignment in terms of open source principles with the underlying blockchain. So I'd say that's quite difficult. And look, the second thing to say is I think people really do value user experience and gas-free trading. This stuff matters. It matters so much that a lot of people are happy to compromise on security. A lot of people aren't. And if you have a look at the Ethereum community, people are very mad at some alternatives. And I don't know whether that's the right emotion. And of course, it's a fair information marketplace, and people should put out the different tactics that people are using, whether that's unscrupulous or not. But ultimately, I think the things it's shown is, one, it's very, very important that legitimately decentralized blockchains get a great user experience as fast as possible in order for them to help fend these things off. And so that's really our intent for Ethereum. We want Ethereum to be able to own NFTs because we believe Ethereum is the best place for the physics of digital assets of the future to be governed. And that's kind of what we're helping to bring is scalability there. And two is this has got to happen fast. Otherwise, people are going to go with a solution that is easy, and it will backfire in 5 or 10 years when Binance Smart Chain runs into the block size limit because they directly copied EVM code. Those are decisions that by then they'll probably have won a decent chunk of network effects if we let it get to there. So I think it's very, very important right now that we have decent alternatives on great solutions.
Yeah. Again, fantastic thoughts, Robbie, and I think you've actually laid out some really valuable and important context then for exactly the reason and the rationale behind Immutable X. So let's move in that direction then. So take it from the top. Go for gold. What is Immutable X and what is the idea?
So Immutable X is built with Starkware, which are the zero-knowledge proof providers. And essentially what it is taking that tech and making it work for NFTs. So if you ever use Diversify or DYDX, it's very similar, but it's for NFTs. And we've put a ton of engineering work into making it basically the easiest possible thing you can use. So we've had developers integrate with Immutable X, like a marketplace, in literally 10 days with a couple of engineers. And we're aiming to bring that down to 2 days. So the first goal is Immutable X is a protocol for trading or creating NFTs on Ethereum with zero gas cost. And there's a few cool properties about that. One is those transactions are instantaneous. So if you perform a transaction on Immutable X, it occurs instantly rather than waiting for block confirmation. And the reason that works, and kind of under the hood, all that's happening is you're depositing your assets into a smart contract, your NFTs, or we're creating them directly into that smart contract via what's called a zero knowledge proof mint. And then we are trading those assets via users signing rather than directly transacting on Ethereum. So rather than consuming gas for every transaction, they're just signing it with their private key. We then grab those signatures, we batch them into a zero knowledge proof, and we upload that compressed batch to the Ethereum blockchain. So the very, very important thing here is, as distinguished from, say, a sidechain, which has its completely own consensus mechanism, it's essentially a brand new blockchain. We are directly inheriting and using Ethereum security. We are directly accruing value to Ethereum through its fundamental value principles, as well as the kind of three principles of how value accrues to ETH via economic bandwidth, via security, via consumption. So that's really important to us, is that we're scaling ETH, not competing with it, but most importantly, that it's inheriting its security. And the second thing is that it's a very, very good user experience. So when you're trading an asset, it's instantaneous. We're actually carbon neutral. So anyone who uses Immutable X to create or trade an NFT is doing so in a completely carbon offset manner, which we're quite excited about. As you know, a lot of people really care about that in the space right now, is different artists and mainstream people come looking for a solution. If Flow's able to say that they're carbon neutral because they are just 300 computers validating transactions, then Ethereum's going to be able to say the same thing. So we're quite excited about that. And the final thing, the most important thing to say, is we're a protocol. So think almost like as 0x was, we are the people trying to power applications and marketplaces. So it's not as if you would typically use us at every instance on the front end to trade. It's more the application you're interacting with under the hood when it wants to perform an NFT transaction is doing so via Immutable X. And so it's very exciting getting this massive influx of people this year and being able to say, well, hey, you can build on Ethereum and you can build a successful business, and we can kind of be the gateway there.
Well, look, Robbie, I'd love to get your thoughts on, I guess, the wider NFT market, right? So we've seen this incredible boom across, the last 3-4 months or so, and you've got the likes of suddenly Paris Hilton is an NFT influencer. Suddenly the New York Stock Exchange is issuing NFTs to commemorate the release of new stocks. Saturday Night Live are doing parodies, and then they're releasing the parodies as actual NFTs. So there's a lot of mainstream attention here. We're going through some kind of hype cycle probably, but what's the kind of the deeper implications of the kind of markets and use cases and futures that the NFTs unlock, and why are you so excited to try and build that out with Immutable X?
This is not uncommon in crypto, especially. Crypto goes through cyclical curves. It's just those the amplitude of those curves are much more exponential than other markets. But I think that the massive capital over allocation is actually fantastic, because it means that there's more developers and there's more genuine use cases being built up. So even though Ethereum went through a bear market in 2018 to 19, the developer community actually grew substantially during that time. So you kind of have this lagging effect of products being built. And I think this bull market is different to previous ones in that we're seeing a substantial increase in adoption and real use cases and penetration into the mainstream. So it is very significant. The thing that I think is really interesting is that the majority of the bull market for NFTs has been associated with one use of an NFT, which is rare art, which is awesome. And I love it because I think it has a very clear value prop. And Ben Thompson from Stratechery actually had a really exceptional piece on this a couple of days ago, where he talked about, and he analogized it to Taylor Swift devaluing her masters by creating an identical version, which she was within her rights to do, and calling it Taylor's version. And the implication in the summary he drew was that creators, as the people who control demand, are the ones who control value, because they determine what they make valuable to their fans. And I think we're seeing the same thing with NFTs, which is just, this is the first time you can really create valuable, ownable digital stuff, and creators are choosing to make that valuable to their fans. But it really is up to them how they create that value. You could have people decide to mint 1 million pieces of art tomorrow, and he'd devalue some of it. So a lot of it is going into the authority of that creator. But the new verticals I'm really, really excited about are other use cases that we have. I think we're starting to see some of the attention pivot to. So that's first, gaming. We're starting to see major gaming giants wake up and say, instead of, hey, we're just dipping our toes in, this could be a real thing. We need to be ready to go and have a strategy. And obviously, our plan is make sure they can use, and it's a great idea for their company to use, the leading public blockchain rather than their own private blockchain or a competitor to Ethereum like Flow. That's really, really important to us. And the second use cases I'm really excited about is all the massive amounts of unique financial assets which can now be tokenized. So in the real world, a huge ton of financial services is actually represented through unique objects, whether that's, like, think about insurance for your house is based on the unique circumstances of your house. Think about a term deposit that you might own is based on the underlying assets and the yield of those assets. Now we can represent those. And we've even seen the first use cases of these with Uniswap using NFTs to denominate liquidity provision. So you only provide LP tokens between certain price ranges, which is really, really awesome. We've seen this with Yearn Finance issue insurance NFTs. We're going to see the tokenization of traditional finance over the next 5 to 10 years, and NFTs consuming everything from term deposits to real estate contracts to real title to insurance to even things like IP rights and media rights associated with it. So really now the whole gamut of stuff is open to be tokenized rather than just fungible assets. And I mean, that market is in the trillions. And that's the protocol we're building to provide liquidity to too.
Yeah, nice. The future is indeed very bright. And in the meantime, I believe you've got some kind of partnership going. Well, you've got a whole bunch of people that you're working with at Immutable X, but I think so OpenSea, which is of course one of the it is the largest NFT marketplace, isn't it? So what's going on with OpenSea?
Yeah, so OpenSea is the world's largest NFT marketplace, and their strategy is to be the eBay of NFTs. So if you go trade an NFT, you go to OpenSea. And what they're going to do is they're going to make sure they support every possible backend in the universe, which means if you're going to trade something on Flow, you'll be able to trade that via the OpenSea front end. If you want to trade something on Ethereum layer 1, you can trade that via the Ethereum front end. If you want to trade something via Ethereum layer 2, you can trade that, via OpenSea's front end, which is Immutable X. And if you want to trade via, another blockchain or another side chain like Matic, you can also do that. So we were really, really stoked to be able to work with their team, and hopefully we can deepen that integration. And basically, if you want any asset which goes on Immutable X, you will have a first-class experience of trading that on OpenSea. So we're really excited there. And the dream use case for our protocol is we make the most sense commercially for these marketplaces to support trading, because right now, typically users are encountering those gas fees and they need a solution. So we're hoping we can make that solution one on Ethereum.
Very nice, Robbie. Okay, well, let's finish off this part of the podcast and we'll take a quick break and then we'll come back and we'll have a little bit of fun. We'll finish off with the Crypto Conversation Hot Take Round.
In today's crypto market, the team at Brave New Coin are the sector's leading builders of custom crypto indices. BNC's powerful indexing engine draws on Brave New Coin's premium data to calculate high-frequency intraday and end-of-day indices for a wide range of index products. BNC's custom indices help you to gain exposure to the crypto assets class and track your performance against the market without having to become a stock picker. Not sure what you need? a Brave New Coin consultant can help you assess your requirements. Contact BNC today to find out more. Are you ready to trade the future of crypto today? Introducing Leverage, a self-custodial decentralized exchange that performs with the speed and features you're accustomed to. Leverage is fast. It's powered by Gluon, a revolutionary DeFi infrastructure that makes DeFi work at scale. It brings speed, transparency, and massive gas efficiencies to its users. Say goodbye to exchange hacks, front-running, Ethereum network congestion, and high fees. Leverage is the future of trading. It combines the best features of CeFi with all the benefits of DeFi. Like William Gibson said, the future is already here, but in this case, it's evenly distributed and completely decentralized. Go to leverage.io and trade the future of crypto today.
All right, we're back and I'm with Robbie Ferguson. Robbie is the co-founder of Immutable, builders of everything from Gods Unchained to Immutable X, the new layer 2 solution for Ethereum that is doing huge, big things in the NFT space. And well, look, Robbie, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Absolutely.
All right, just want your hot takes, your hot fire, take your best shot. Here we go, Robbie. I know the answer to this one already, but where do you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-coin opportunist spectrum?
That's a good question. I like Bitcoin. I also like Ethereum. I think they have slightly different value props. So I think Bitcoin's value prop is digital gold and the first and the one that people will never change because of the community's view on making any changes at all to Bitcoin. And I like Ethereum. It's the same thing for smart contracts. And I think they both prove that first mover advantage and the developer ecosystem are very difficult to overcome.
And speaking of Bitcoin and Ethereum, Robbie, isn't it good to see that just now I'm looking at CoinMarketCap and they're both just hitting new all-time highs at the same time. So it's fun to be in a bull market right now.
There we go. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. There we go. It is fun. It's the first bull market we've been through as a company. I think you develop really good discipline habits as a crypto company building through a bear market. And it's now that you get all of the customers coming to you. But this is the third bull market I've lived through. So I know not to, take everything for granted. And the most important thing is building real use cases under the hood.
Very nicely said. Okay, well, Robbie, what would you say is your firmest conviction, crypto opinion?
My firmest conviction. It would be that network effects are everything and the greatest developer ecosystem will win out, and that will be decided quite early on.
I love it. All right, here's a curveball for you, Robbie. UBI as a potential fix for either, AI-induced automation or for some kind of, dystopian future world where inequality is just destroying the social fabric. UBI, from a hot take perspective, what do you reckon?
Necessary and inevitable. Hopefully we can do it without just inflating via a massive stimulus package that devalues people's net worth more than it gives them in terms of an exogenous injection.
Yeah, that is the key. All right. Well, Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. So look, whatever you like here, what is blockchain or gaming or NFTs? What does it look like in 10 years' time?
Well, Bill Gates clearly had not built in the DeFi era, but I'm bullish in 10 years on a substantial portion of major gaming assets being NFTs and users not even knowing what that the NFT is under the hood. They're just trading and experiencing that value. And I think we'll see 10 years, Bitcoin maybe at $1 million. So on par market cap to gold and a similar rise for Ethereum.
Very, very nice, very bullish. I love it. All right, well, sci-fi author William Gibson, you'll be very aware of this quote. He said that the future is already here, it's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, Robbie? But most people just aren't really aware of it.
Yeah, I think that one is easy, which is blockchain. I mean, still such a small percentage of the universe actually uses any of it. So, I mean, if you're listening to the podcast, you're early.
Yeah. Can't argue with that. All right, time to get a little bit weird. Time to zoom out. Robbie, what do you see as the long-term future for the human race? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
Both, which is unfortunate. I don't see anything in between. So we're going to move to the far sides of the equilibriums, because as you get like nigh infinite resources, it just, whatever the kind of underlying programming of the preferences of the people generating that pushes it towards either like a utopia or a dystopia. I very much hope that we can move us towards a post-scarcity tech utopia. But I think that this is, if I could choose not to create strong AI, I would, because I think that we can get to where we need to go with human preferences and morality, which is much more knowable than AI, but you can't stop it. So yeah, we'll see one or the other. I'm really hoping it ends up as a utopia rather than digital eternal conscious torment.
And we call that Brave New World, I believe. Anyway, let's close this out, Robbie. On a slightly similar note, I guess you would say, the final question I always ask is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, show, or universe?
That one is easy. So favorite Three Body Problem, I just think it is so well written. But my favorite in terms of vision is actually directly related to that question, which is the Culture series by Ian Banks, because he depicts, and it's very, very rare to read this, a real tech utopia, not some fake version which feels sickly under the hood. This is genuinely the best manifestation of humanity's destiny. And so if I had to say I had a long-term goal, it is in some way marginally increasing the probability that humanity ends up in a version of the Culture, which is his utopia, rather than something very, very bad.
Oh, brilliant. That is a fantastic way to end the show, Robbie. I love it. Might put links in the show notes to both of those books. I think someone else has gone for the Three Body Problem before. I can't remember who, but that's a lesser known sci-fi classic, quite a disturbing. That's Japanese or Chinese, isn't it?
Chinese, and Chinese. It's translated and it's wonderful.
Correct. All right. Well, links will be in the show notes. Look, nothing else to say really, except to hand the microphone back to you, Robbie. Look, give us your final pitch, if you like, or just kind of info on Immutable X. Where should people go? Why should they go there? And where can they find you on your various platforms? Yeah. So I think I didn't actually mention this, but we launched the very, very alpha version of Immutable X last week for Gods Unchained, where we only had one subset of our cards go live of this one particular game. But in the first 24 hours alone, we had more peer-to-peer NFT trades than the entire previous week on Ethereum for NFTs. And we saved users $500,000 in gas costs. So the very earliest functionality, and if you go to the marketplace, it's pretty broken because we really are shipping the embarrassing version of the product. But fundamentally, the protocol works, and so we're tremendously excited. We're integrating with partners. So come to immutable.com, reach out to us, chat to us if you want to build something, and we'll help you use NFTs on the leading blockchain. Fantastic. Hey, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed our chat today, Robbie. All the best, and bye for now. Thank you. All right, there you go. How good was that? Such a good time chatting to Robbie. I really enjoyed that one. He's a fun guy. Great to have an Australian on the show. Do enjoy that Kiwi Aussie connection, and fascinating to learn all about what Robbie and his team at Immutable are building with Immutable X. So links are in the show notes to what they are building at Immutable. So if you want to learn more, just go to the website. And yeah, hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the Crypto Conversation podcast and whatever podcast app you're using. Give us a nice rating in Apple iTunes, and stick around. Lots more podcasts on the way. We are out of here for today. See you real soon. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave